There's a certain age where you stop having a best friend and you just have people, not enemies, not strangers, just people who you know and talk to sometimes and see when the timing works out. And nobody really prepares you for that. Nobody sits you down and says, hey, at some point, the idea of having one person, your go to, your ride or die, that whole thing just quietly dissolves. And it doesn't happen because of some big fight or falling out, it just fades. And the weird part is, once you're on the other side of it, you realize you're actually okay. I used to think not having a best friend meant something was wrong with you, like it was a social failure. If you couldn't point to one person and say, that's my guy, that's my person, then you were either too closed off or too difficult to be close to. That's what I thought. And I held on to that idea way longer than I should have, which honestly just kept me stuck trying to force connections that had already run their course. So before I get into this, real quick, think about the last time someone checked on you. Not a meme, not a reaction to your story, an actual text that said, hey, you good? I'm not saying go spiral about it. I'm just saying pay attention to that, because by the end of this video, it might hit different. All right. So growing up, I always had a best friend. Like there was always one person who was the person, the one you called first when something happened, the one whose house you just showed up at, the one who knew everything about your life in real time, not just the highlight reel version. And for a long time, that was just a given. You find your person early, you grow up together, and that's just how it goes. But what I didn't understand back then is that those friendships are easy to maintain when your lives are basically identical. Same school, same neighborhood, same problems, same free time. When the infrastructure is the same, the friendship just runs on autopilot. You don't have to work at it because life is constantly throwing you into the same rooms. Then life starts separating people. And that's when you find out what the friendship was actually built on. I mean, I've had a few people over the years that I would have called my best friend at different points in my life. And each time it wasn't like a door slamming, it was more like a light slowly dimming until one day you realize the room is dark and you don't remember when it happened. The one that hit the hardest though was a guy I'm gonna call Marcus, not his real name, but he knows who he is if he ever sees this. Me and Marcus went way back, not quite K through 12, but close enough. We met in our early teens, and by our mid-20s, we had been through a lot together. Job losses, bad relationships, family stuff, moving around. The kind of shared history that makes you feel like the friendship is indestructible. Like, yeah, we might go weeks without talking, but when we link up, it's like no time passed. You know, that feeling, that was us for years. And for a long time, that was enough. I didn't question it. I just figured that's what adult friendship looks like. Life gets busy, people get caught up. But the foundation is there, and that's what matters. But here's the thing about foundations. You don't really know how solid they are until something heavy lands on them. So at some point in my mid-20s, I was going through a rough stretch. Nothing catastrophic, just that slow grind of everything feeling stuck. And my money wasn't moving the way I wanted. I was in my head a lot, and just one of those periods where like you need somebody to talk to, not even for advice, just to vent to somebody who gets it. And I reached out to Marcus and then sent him a text, pretty straightforward. Hey man, been a minute, going through it a little. You got time to talk? He left it on red for 4 days. Now I know people get busy. I'm not dramatic about stuff like that. But 4 days. And then the response was just, Lowell, what's good? Like a ping. Not a phone call, not even a real reply, just a ping to let me know he'd seen it and moved on. And I didn't say anything about it. I just said nothing much, all good. And that was kind of it. But something shifted after that, not in a bitter way, just in a quiet, clear-eyed way, like when you're looking at something and the lighting changes and suddenly you just see it differently. I started paying attention. And what I noticed was that most of our conversations were me initiating. Most of the check-ins were one-sided. And when we did hang out, it was great. The energy was always there. But the effort to actually make it happen was never really equal. And I had to be honest with myself about what that meant. Not what I wanted it to mean, what it actually meant. I think the hardest part of losing a best friend isn't the distance. It's the moment you realize you've been treating someone like your person when you're not really theirs. Like you're a priority in the friendship in your own head, but in reality, you're more like an option. A good option, maybe even a favorite option, but still an option. And once you see that, you can't unsee it. So I did what I've learned to do. I didn't send a message, didn't have a big conversation about it. It didn't post anything. I just quietly stopped making the effort and waited to see what happened naturally. And the friendship didn't die dramatically. It just settled into what it actually was, which was two people who have history and will probably always have love for each other, but are no longer in each other's daily lives in any real way. And here's the part that surprised me. I was fine, like genuinely fine, not suppressing it, fine. Not, I'll deal with it later, fine. Actually, fine. Because what I realized is that I had been holding onto a version of the friendship that hadn't actually existed for years. I was maintaining the idea of a best friend more than I was maintaining an actual relationship. And once I let go of the idea, I didn't lose as much as I thought I would. I think there's a version of adulthood that nobody really sells you on. And it's the version where you don't have a best friend, but you have a handful of real people. People you can call when something actually happens. People who know you well enough to read between the lines. Not one single person who holds all of that, but a few people who each hold a piece of it. And honestly, that feels more stable to me now than putting everything into one person and calling it a best friendship. I'm not saying don't have a best friend. If you've got one, a real one, hold on to that. That's rare, but I am saying don't confuse loyalty to the idea of someone with loyalty to the actual person standing in front of you, because sometimes you're so committed to who someone used to be that you don't notice who they actually are now. Growing up doesn't always mean gaining things. Sometimes it means getting comfortable with having less than you thought you needed and realizing that less is actually enough. All right. That's all I've got on this one. If this hit close to home, let me know in the comments. I'll keep making these. This is Avery Apps. Appreciate y'all.